To Kent, where the authorities are having to care for unprecedented numbers of young, unaccompanied migrants arriving in Britain. The county is currently looking after nearly 1,000 young people, and they've run out of foster families for under 16s, while reception centres for 16 to 18-year-olds are full. The government has said it will take 20,000 migrants from Syrian camps, but most of these young refugees fall outside that category. So is the current government policy adequate for the scale of the crisis? Sarah has been to Whitstable, one of the towns which has become home to some of those who've just arrived.
Vulnerable and alone. This a glimpse into the lives of teenage asylum seekers in Ashford as they adapt to a new way of life. It's one of 3 centres run by Kent County Council, housing 16 and 17-year-olds, mainly from Eritrea and Afghanistan. But Kent is a county in crisis, buckling under the burden of caring for record levels of young asylum-seeking children.
Just a month after opening, this temporary reception centre in Whitstable is full, and the other 2 in Kent are over capacity. It's putting unprecedented strain on council services, and yet the numbers just keep on rising.
Children arrive from Calais every day. The authority says it's now responsible for nearly 1,000 unaccompanied asylum seekers, up by almost 350% since last year. It's cost the council an extra £7.6 million and counting, money it wants reimbursed from the government. So stretched is Kent County Council that it's now refusing to accept any extra unaccompanied refugees brought to Britain under the government's scheme to resettle 20,000 displaced Syrians. The Home Office says it's working on a new national dispersal scheme which will ease the pressure on Kent, but a detailed announcement could be weeks away.
This is quite unprecedented. I mean, local authorities do not receive 600 children into care in over 6 months. You know, that simply would not happen in any other circumstances.
Communities are feeling the pressure too. There was tension in the seaside town of Whitstable when plans were announced to temporarily house 40 young male asylum seekers at Ladesfield. But now the boys are there, the town has galvanised, and volunteers are running support groups teaching them to cook and speak English.
They've come from a really difficult situation, that they've gone through a traumatic journey, and they've finally arrived at somewhere where they look out of their windows and they see people coming to help them in the centre of a community.
And they've actually said to us, we feel safe here. People are kind. How wonderful that will be their abiding memory of their first encounter of our culture and our people in this country.
With over 4,500 people in the makeshift camps of Calais, some children's charities say Britain should be taking more unaccompanied children.
So we've asked the government to take 3,000 of the children that are here on their own. So just to put that in context, there's already thousands of children who've made the journey to Europe all alone. So they've either been sent on ahead for safety by their parents, or they've become separated from their family on the journeys where there's a child in a foreign country completely on their own without a mum or dad to protect them. Some of them are sleeping rough. They're very vulnerable to exploitation, to abuse, to trafficking. So we think the government should give those children a second chance safety by bringing them to care and compassion here in the UK.
The boys behind these blacked out windows are the lucky ones, and it seems they're evidence of a critical issue for Kent that's put a spotlight on national government policy.
Well, we're joined now from Maidstone by the leader of Kent County Council, Paul Carter. Thanks for joining us, Mr. Carter. Now, the Home Office does agree with you that there should be a national dispersal system for unaccompanied children, but it told us that won't happen for weeks. Is that what they've told you?
Well, we're working very closely with the Home Office on trying to arrange a dispersal system that will work and will work quickly. And we're also making sure that the Home Office will agree to meet the government's pledge in late August, where all reasonable costs placed on local authorities such as Kent will be reimbursed. Currently, we are out of pocket to the tune of about £7.6 million, which needs to have the assurance of the central government that they will pay that cost to us. But as far as containing now approaching 1,400 unaccompanied youngsters in Kent is literally at saturation point. So
you said something will happen quickly.
But
they've told us it won't happen for weeks. Is that reasonable given the situation?
Well, we've had some mixed messages from Home Office civil servants. I spoke to the Immigration Minister, James Brokenshire, this afternoon, and indeed I will meet with him next week, expressing the urgency to get the dispersal system underway and the essential need to promise to pay Kent County Council £7.6 million worth of additional costs that we have incurred. All our staff have pulled out all the stops to help and support this vulnerable group of young people. And we expect the government to honour their promise to pay us all reasonable costs.
Well, Mr Brokenshire has told one of the Kent MPs, Julian Brazier, that he's written to local authorities asking them to take on refugee children and offering them funding to help. What more do you want them to do?
Well, I think that there's different grants for different age categories, but it's pretty common knowledge amongst local authorities up and down the country that those that reach the age of 18 and are then in what's called leaving care category, the grant is not adequate to support those young people. Well, all of those asylum youngsters under the age of 18 will reach their 18th birthday sometime soon, and therefore the burden of additional cost on local authorities is prohibitive, and they're not prepared to take a significant number of our young asylum seekers until such time as the government has increased the grant.
To clarify, Paul Carter, is the government doing enough here, as far as you're concerned?
Well, I would like to see some timeline set for the dispersal system and a timeline on working out what the right, fair and appropriate grant is that will unblock the blockage that is with other local authorities who simply cannot afford to take on asylum seekers with a massive shortfall in grant for the 18+ category. That should be able, in my view, to be resolved quickly. It's with the Treasury at the moment, and I expressed the urgency to James Brokenshire in our telephone conversation this afternoon that the Treasury must give us a timeline as to when that's going to be sorted, and that needs to be sorted sometime very soon. OK,
let's bring in Henry Smith. So the Home Office says it's written to local authorities asking them to take in unaccompanied asylum-seeking children, offering to give them extra funding. But we've just heard Kent is in crisis. Shouldn't we actually be telling councils to take these children rather than asking them politely?
Well, Paul Carter is a very effective leader of Kent County Council, and it's not fair that one particular location